Week 7, at home, coming off our bye, playing a shit-ass Houston team in a game that we have to win, and we end up blowing them out 38-20. This game was way fucking closer than that score says. The first 3 quarters of this game, we were either playing from behind or we were tied up. And then finally in the fourth, we were able to shut this team out and finish a team off for the first time this season. I know it's the fucking Texans, and it doesn't matter that much, but this is a huge step in this team moving forward and being able to close out games, which is something that we have not been able to do. And we have to give special thanks to Josh Jacobs for coming out there and carrying this team yet again to their second victory of the season. If it is not painfully obvious to everyone at this point that this offense runs through him, you are a fucking idiot and you should not be following this team. DC plays his best football off that play action pass, and that opens up every single offensive weapon that we do have on this roster. That kid is a fucking animal. He had 20 carries for like 140 yards and 3 touchdowns. That shit is insane. And this is like the 3rd week in a row where his ass is just completely gone off. I really think Josh McDaniels is finally starting to figure this shit out. Carr's ass only missed 6 times this entire fucking game. 21 of 27, 241 and a touchdown. Did his offensive line completely screw him in the first half? Yeah, pretty much. But in that second half, he remained pretty much untouched. And once again, he used his legs to make a few plays for us. He scrambled around, got that extra 2 or 3 seconds, and was able to fire that ball out and get us that first down that we needed, or get us down the field when we had to get down there. For the first time this season, I do not have a damn thing to say about him. I'm happy as shit with the way that he played this game. Everybody got a piece today. This offense looked incredibly balanced. And one last quick shout out before I move to the defensive side of the ball. Foster Moreau, I was not expecting you to have like a huge fucking game, but the 3 catches that you did have, I granted you only had like 29 yards, those were huge plays throughout this game. Then we have to move to that defensive side of the ball. Shout out to Harmon, you had a huge fucking game. That pick 6 was a thing of beauty, plus you had 6 tackles. Your ass was on fire today, but outside of that, this defense struggled. 2 of my biggest fucking pet peeves were met head on this entire fucking game. 1, we let some piece of shit quarterback that nobody's ever heard of end up running roughshod through this defense. Dude had over 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. Davis Mills should not be able to do that and keep his team in this game through the first 3 quarters. It's complete bullshit. We should have been able to shut that fucking kid out completely. The second thing that completely pissed me off was the running backs, and the running backs coming out of the backfield on the passing routes. Legitimately, 50% of his completions were to backs out of the backfield. We have to be able to figure that shit out and figure it out really quick, because we play a hell of a lot more teams with better running backs and better quarterbacks than what this Texans team has, and they fucking exploited the shit out of us with it. And our run defense sucked just as bad. Damian Pierce ran the ball straight down our fucking throats all game long. He was averaging almost 5 yards a carry, and he was doing that shit on a consistent basis. We have to go to New Orleans next week, and if Pierce can do this to us today at home, I do not even want to know what Kamara's going to do to us next week. We have to be able to make that adjustment and shut that shit down. I'll be honest with you, nation, I do not care how we win these next 3 to 4 games that we have to play, as long as we get that 1 in the W column. I do not care about stats. I do not care about who does what. All I care about is this team being able to string together a few fucking victories to get us back into this shit. Outside of the top 4 to 5 teams, the AFC is completely fucking open. There is absolutely no reason why we cannot jump back into this shit, but it is up to us, and if we cannot do it, we are going to end up being completely fucked. But if this team right here can continue to put out consistent play and close teams out in the 3rd and 4th quarter, we're going to end up being pretty damn good, and I promise you that. This was the first of many to keep this shit alive moving forward. New Orleans is another must win. We have to get this shit back to 500, because any game that we lose between now and then could be our entire fucking season being over. Hopefully this shit is the start of something great, because I honestly saw a few flashes tonight like I have not seen in a long fucking time. So hit me up, let me know your thoughts on it, click that like on your way out. Until next time, I'm Joe Q. We'll catch y'all in a few days.